Hi, this is Srinivas. So in our previous session, we have seen about data types, and in data types, we are having primary data type, void, enumerated, and derived data types. So now we are going to see about primary data type and why this primary data type is important in our C language. See, in primary data types, we have seen that we are having integer type, floating point type, and next one is your character types. So what are these integer, floating, and character types? So first, as the name suggests, integer type is used whenever we are using integers. So whenever the data is in the form of an integer, we use integer types, and whenever we are having a floating type, something like a decimal values, we use this floating type data types. And the next one is your character types. Character, whenever you are having your data in the form of characters, we use these character types. And here in your integer types, we are having three. First one is your int, next one is your short, and the next one is your long. All these three are your special keywords in your C language. And whenever we say keywords and your C language is case sensitive, so we need to write all these keywords in your lowercase letters only, because all these are predefined in your C program. So here integer type, the first one is your integer type. Integer type occupies 2 or 4 bytes. So what is this 2 or 4 bytes? Depending upon your operating system, if it is a 32-bit operating system, integer value is a 2 bytes. If it is a 64-bit operating system, it allocates 4 bytes of memory for an integer. So here integer, whenever you are having an integer value, so we need to declare it as int type, and it occupies a 2 or 4 bytes in your main memory. So here what is the range for this integer? So in integer we are having either a signed integer, and next one is your unsigned integer. So signed and unsigned integers. So whenever you are having your signed values, that represents a minus values, integer values, we use a signed, and whenever there is no signed values, we use unsigned integer. And for your signed integer, that is the range for this one is minus 32,768 to 32,767. So these are the values that can hold this particular integer data type. And unsigned is, there is no sign, that represents from 0 to 65,535. So these are the values that can be saved whenever you are having integer values. So int data type can be used. Similarly, we are having short. So what is this short? So short is also a data type we can use whenever you are having a 2 bytes of an integer value. So here also in short we are having a signed short and unsigned short. So the values will be 2 bytes, similar to this one, 0 to 65,535, and here minus 32,768 to 32,767, because it occupies 2 bytes. So whenever you are having a value which can occupy 2 bytes, we can go for short. Similarly, we can also go for int. Here, if it is 4 bytes, depending upon your processor's operating system, then it can be allocated 2 bytes or 4 bytes. And the next one is your long. Long will take 4 or 8 bytes, depending upon your operating system, 32-bit or 64-bit. When it is 32-bit, it takes 4 bytes. If it is 64, it takes 8 bytes. So whenever your value, depending upon the value, your C compiler will allocate that much amount of memory to this particular data. So if the value is 4 bytes, we can't store a 4 byte value in your 2 bytes integer or your short. So whenever your value is 4 bytes or your 8 bytes, we need to declare that particular variable as long. If it is 2 bytes, we can store in short, or if it is 2 or 4 bytes, we can store in integer. Similarly, the next one is your floating types. In floating types, we are having two. First one is your float, next one is your double. So float will take 4 bytes, double will take 8 bytes. So whatever we have seen, floating point is nothing but whenever you are having a decimal values, we use this kind of a data type. So if we have decimal value which is having a 6 decimal places, for example, if it is 12.468, so this is a decimal value. If I want to store this value, here I am having only 3 decimal places, so I can go for my float data type because it takes a 6 decimal values. Similarly, double, if I am having a value something like 12.4680349. So here, if you can see here, it is having more than 6 decimal places. So I can't store this value in my float. Then I need to go for my double. So double can take 15 decimal places. So here I am having some around 7 decimal places. So I can store this value in my double, which occupies 8 bytes. Whereas your float will take only 4 bytes and it will take a 6 decimal places. So whenever you are having your decimal values, we store those values using floating types, data types, either float or double. The next one is your character types. In characters, whenever your data is in the form of a character, we use character types. Here we are having only one, that is char. So this is also a keyword and it later should be in your lowercase. So whenever your compiler sees char, it understands that data is in the form of character and the size of this particular character is 1 byte. It allocates 1 byte, that represents 8 bits. So 8 bits of value is stored in your character, and here in character we are having signed character or unsigned character. So if it is unsigned character, the range is from 0 to 255. If it is a signed character, that takes -128 to 127, that is 255 values. So this is about your character. Character takes 1 byte, float takes 4 bytes, double takes 8 bytes, long 4 or 8 depending upon your operating system, and short takes 2 bytes, integer takes 2 or 4 bytes. Integer values are stored using this one. Decimal values are stored using float or double depending upon the decimal places. Character are stored in your character, which takes 1 byte. So this is about your primary data types. If you are having any queries, please comment in the comment section. Thank you.